Common right now to find somebody who has paid maybe $60,000 or $65,000 for a very high-end pickup truck. Well, even the average pickup truck now is going to be crossing over that $50,000 barrier.
Dealers won't tell you this, but mechanics can't stop warning people. For years, certain pickups have carried flaws so destructive, owners are dumping them by the thousands. Engines stick, transmissions fail, oil disappears, and repair shops cash in. Which models are secretly killing themselves? Why did the companies double down instead of fixing them? And how close are you to the same disaster? Because by the end, you'll see, it's not just bad luck. Chevrolet Silverado 1500. Back in the mid-2000s, if you were the kind of man who wanted a truck that looked tough, pulled heavy, and had that deep V8 rumble, chances are the Chevrolet Silverado 1500 with the 5.3-liter small block caught your eye. It was marketed as the everyman's pickup, the truck for hard-working ranchers, contractors, and anyone who needed a reliable daily driver that could haul hay one day and tow a boat the next. The bowtie badge carried weight, and in towns across America, the Silverado was as common as a pair of dusty work boots. But beneath that reputation and the chrome grille was a hidden issue that turned ownership from pride into punishment. From the year 2005 up through the year 2015, these trucks carried one of General Motors' most notorious mechanical gambles, the active fuel management system. What sounded brilliant on paper turned into one of the most expensive nightmares a truck owner could face. General Motors' active fuel management aimed to save fuel by shutting cylinders, but weak hydraulic lifters collapsed and destroyed camshafts. Instead of innovation, it produced the dreaded tick-tick-tick under the hood, a sound signaling costly, wallet-draining repairs. Owners reported that once the lifters began to fail, the engine lost power, stumbled on acceleration, and often triggered a check engine light. When scanned, the codes revealed misfires, uneven compression, or outright cylinder deactivation failures. What made this worse was the secondary damage. Once a lifter collapses, it sheds metal shavings into the oil, circulating tiny razors through the block. Cam lobes get scarred, bearings get chewed up, and soon the entire engine is compromised. Many men walked into a dealership thinking they needed a simple tune-up, and walked out staring at a repair bill north of $7,000. And if the failure was ignored too long, a full engine replacement could cost over $15,000, a figure that turned a family truck into a financial anchor. Silverado owners faced relentless oil consumption nightmares, with General Motors' flawed design letting oil slip past piston rings. Many trucks burned a quart every 1,000 miles, forcing drivers to haul spare oil like cargo. Engines sometimes seized from running dry, while dealerships offered weak fixes like oil pan deflectors or software updates that solved little. Frustrated owners turned to lawsuits and forums, while independent mechanics built entire businesses disabling active fuel management permanently, though such modifications risked voided warranties and fresh complications. To be fair, not every Silverado from these years failed early. Some owners babied their trucks with meticulous oil changes and careful driving, stretching mileage past 150,000 before the problems began. But enough did fail that the reputation of the 2005 through 2015 Silverado 1500 with the 5.3-liter 5.8 took a massive hit. Consumer Reports, which tracked owner surveys, gave the 2005 model a reliability score of just 40 out of 100. To put that in perspective, a Toyota Corolla of the same year scored 85. That is the kind of gap that cannot be ignored. Chevrolet Silverado once symbolized trust and grit, relied on by farmers, fathers, and workers alike. Instead, lifter failures, misfires, oil burning, and massive repair costs drove loyal owners into Ford or Ram trucks, feeling betrayed by the bowtie badge. The bitter truth is this: when a truck owner spends more time under the hood than behind the wheel, the brand loses its soul. The Silverado of those years is proof that clever engineering shortcuts can backfire spectacularly. Today, mechanics advise buyers to avoid those model years unless they come with full service history and proof that the active fuel management system has been deleted or upgraded. Even then, it is a gamble. The smart move is to step forward into the newer generations that ditched the old system for stronger designs. And so we close the story of this once mighty Chevrolet, a truck that promised efficiency but delivered disappointment. But do not think for a second that General Motors was alone in making such mistakes. Another manufacturer built an engine so infamous it spawned online communities dedicated solely to its failures. Let us head down that road next. If you're finding this list helpful so far, hit that like button. It lets me know you want more breakdowns like this, and I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Have you ever owned one of these trucks? Share your story below, because your experience might save another driver's wallet. Ram 1500. There is a certain kind of pride that comes with owning a Ram 1500. The bold grille, the muscular stance, and the thunderous roar of the 5.7-liter Hemi 5.8 all scream American power. For decades, the Hemi name carried legendary status. It was the engine of drag strips, muscle cars, and tough work trucks. Buyers believed they were getting not just a pickup, but a piece of history. Yet behind that reputation lurked one of the most notorious mechanical headaches of the modern era. Between the year 2013 and the year 2020, countless Ram owners discovered that the Hemi was no longer the hero it claimed to be. Instead, it became a source of endless frustration, mounting repair bills, and a noise so dreaded it was given its own name: the Hemi tick. The dreaded Hemi tick signaled lifters and camshafts grinding apart. What began as faint clicking grew into engine death, spreading metal debris. Repairs ran thousands, and full replacements soared past $15,000, leaving many owners financially stranded. The story does not stop with lifters. Exhaust manifold bolts on these Hemi engines are infamous for snapping. When that happens, hot exhaust gases escape, creating a harsh tractor-like sound and even melting nearby components. Replacing manifolds can cost $2,000 to $3,000 because of the special alloys and the labor required. Add to that the notorious 8-speed automatic transmission that many Rams carried during those years. On paper, this gearbox promised smooth shifting and better fuel economy. In reality, owners complained of hesitation, hard shifts, and complete failures. A transmission rebuild ranges from $5,000 to $8,000, and even then, some units broke again within short mileage. Oil leaks plagued Ram owners relentlessly, with valve cover gaskets and oil pan seals dripping onto driveways, lowering oil levels and staining concrete. Simple in theory, gasket repairs ballooned into $1,000 jobs thanks to labor-heavy designs. Chrysler, later Stellantis, insisted on pushing the multiple displacement system, a cylinder deactivation technology meant to save fuel, but notorious for stressing an already fragile valve train. Mechanics often advised disabling the system to preserve engines, though doing so carried warranty risks and potential long-term complications. The fallout was enormous. Consumer Reports gave the 2013 Ram 1500 an abysmal reliability score of 15 out of 100. To put that in perspective, many compact cars from the 1980s scored higher. Online communities sprang up not to celebrate the truck, but to commiserate. Entire Facebook groups dedicated to Hemi tick horror stories gained tens of thousands of members. Forums filled with pictures of shredded camshafts and videos of engines knocking like a hammer against steel. It was a fraternity of frustrated owners, bound together by broken trucks. Ram finally surrendered after years of denial. In 2024, the company ended the Hemi 5.8, replacing it with turbocharged Hurricane 6 cylinders, officially for efficiency. But owners knew reliability failures forced the legendary engine's demise. For the American truck owner, this was a hard pill to swallow. Many men had grown up idolizing the Hemi name, connecting it with brute strength and dependability. They wanted to believe that their Ram 1500 could deliver decades of service. Instead, they found themselves listening for the dreaded tick every time they turned the key. Owning one of these models was less about pride and more about preparing for the next repair bill. Carrying a wallet fat enough to cover unexpected 4-digit repairs became as essential as carrying a toolbox in the bed. The lesson from the Hemi years is simple but powerful. Reputation does not guarantee reliability. A legendary badge can hide serious flaws, and even the most iconic engines can fall victim to poor design and rushed innovation. Today, when mechanics see one of these trucks roll into the bay, many shake their heads, already anticipating the conversation with the owner. It is a conversation that starts with, "I have bad news," and ends with a quote that makes knees buckle. But as costly and frustrating as the Hemi era proved to be, it is not the only chapter of pickup history filled with regret. There is a Ford engine that was so troublesome, mechanics had to invent special tools just to repair it. And that story is waiting just down the road. Ford F-150. When people talk about the most disappointing engines in truck history, the 5.4-liter Triton V8 from the Ford F-150 almost always comes up in conversation. During the years between 2004 and 2010, Ford put this power plant under the hood of hundreds of thousands of their best-selling pickups. On paper, it looked like a marvel. It was a modular engine, designed with flexibility in mind, meant to be installed across multiple vehicle lines, and adapted for both work duty and family hauling. It promised strength, efficiency for its size, and the kind of durability that would make it worthy of the Ford name. Yet what customers ended up with was one of the most notorious mechanical nightmares ever built by an American automaker. The Triton earned such a bad reputation that many seasoned mechanics groan the moment they hear a customer say the words 5.4. The Triton's weakest link was its spark plug design. Thin aluminum threads failed, plugs shot out like gunfire, and repairs demanded costly inserts. Owners faced repeated failures, specialized tools, and repair bills climbing into thousands of dollars. But the spark plug fiasco was only the beginning. Timing chain issues plagued this generation of Tritons. Chains stretched far earlier than expected, throwing off timing, damaging valves, and sometimes breaking completely. When that happened, the engine faced catastrophic destruction. Replacing a full timing set often cost between $4,000 and $6,000, assuming the valves had not been destroyed. Add valve damage, and suddenly, the bill approached $10,000 or more. Cam phasers, which were part of the variable valve timing system, rattled like jackhammers at idle. Many owners compared the sound to a diesel engine clattering away, except it was coming from a gasoline truck that should have been running smooth. Ignition coils added another level of frustration. They burned out one after another, leaving owners stranded or limping home on reduced power. At $200 to $400 per coil, and with 8 coils under the hood, it was like feeding money into a slot machine that never paid out. Oil leaks were another constant battle. Gaskets, seals, and valve covers wept relentlessly, and cooling system failures often led to overheating. Worse still, many spark plugs in these engines fused themselves into the cylinder heads over time, breaking into pieces when mechanics tried to remove them. This required hours of labor and sometimes complete head replacement. What made it all unbearable was Ford's persistence. The company knew about these problems early on. Complaints poured in, lawsuits followed, and yet the engine remained in production for years. To customers, it felt like betrayal. They had trusted America's best-selling truck brand, and instead of strength and security, they were left with fear every time they turned the key. Some owners gave up entirely, parking their trucks in driveways and walking away because repairs exceeded the value of the vehicle. Stories spread of F-150s sitting abandoned behind barns and shops, too expensive to fix and too unreliable to sell. The Triton's failures left workers stranded and families drained of savings. Ford's reputation collapsed, and buyers swore off the brand. Even today, mechanics warn, if an F-150 carries the 5.4, walk away without hesitation. Yet as grim as the Triton saga is, it serves as a cautionary tale. Reputation alone cannot be trusted. A strong badge on the grille does not guarantee a strong motor under the hood. Buyers in today's market can look back at the Triton and learn to always research, always check reliability reports, and always ask tough questions before shaking hands on a deal. Ford eventually moved away from the Triton, learning lessons the hard way, but the scars remain in thousands of stranded trucks and disappointed owners. The downfall of the Triton leaves us with a truth no truck buyer can ignore. Even the king of sales can produce a lemon. But Ford was not the only company guilty of overpromising and under-delivering. General Motors had its own disaster hiding in plain sight, and for many unsuspecting Sierra owners, the price of that mistake was just as painful. GMC Sierra 1500. At first glance, the GMC Sierra 1500 from the late 2000s and early 2010s appeared to be the perfect choice for buyers who wanted refinement with their muscle. It was marketed as the more polished cousin of the Chevrolet Silverado, offering a slightly upscale feel, chrome accents, and interiors that looked more like a comfortable family vehicle than a bare-bones workhorse. For many truck owners, it felt like a way to stand apart while still enjoying the same dependable backbone as the Silverado line. Yet behind that sleek exterior and under the hood of models built between the year 2007 and the year 2016 sat an engine system that caused headaches, drained wallets, and forced loyal owners to part ways with their trucks earlier than expected. That problem was General Motors' much-hyped active fuel management system, a design meant to save gas, but one that instead ruined engines from the inside out. Active fuel management promised efficiency by deactivating cylinders, but weak hydraulic lifters collapsed, damaging camshafts. Instead of innovation, Sierra owners faced rough engines, constant misfires, and the dreaded ticking noise that grew louder with every passing mile. When those lifters failed, They did not simply stop working, they shed tiny shards of metal into the engine oil, which then circulated through bearings, journals, and vital internal parts. A small failure quickly became a chain reaction of destruction. Mechanics across the country saw the same scenario play out over and over again. A Sierra rolls in with a simple complaint of a ticking noise, and the diagnosis escalates into thousands of dollars in repairs. Replacing lifters and a camshaft typically cost anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000, depending on labor and location. If the damage spread deeper, requiring a total engine replacement, the cost often soared beyond $15,000, a figure that left many owners stunned and defeated. Oil consumption issues turned Sierra ownership into a constant burden. Active fuel management forced excess oil past piston rings, leaving owners adding a quart every 1,000 miles just to survive. Engines burned oil so quickly, they failed emissions tests, embarrassing trucks marketed as strong and refined. General Motors tried releasing software updates and tiny oil pan deflectors, but these quick fixes solved nothing. Warranties expired. Repairs mounted, and frustrated owners faced the harsh reality of trucks that consumed oil endlessly without relief. Another cruel twist was that many owners thought choosing the GMC badge would shield them from the issues tied to the Chevrolet Silverado. After all, Sierra models were marketed as premium, a cut above the standard work truck. Instead, they inherited every one of the Silverado's flaws, sometimes compounded by higher repair costs due to pricier trim and parts. It was a betrayal for buyers who had paid more up front, expecting longevity and quality, only to discover that they had purchased a ticking time bomb under the hood. The Sierra's troubles sparked lawsuits, viral complaints, and endless mechanic warnings. Owners faced two grim choices: endure active fuel management failures and massive repairs, or disable the system entirely, risking voided warranties and fresh electronic issues. Either path meant frustration. To their credit, General Motors eventually revised the system in newer models released after 2016. Those later trucks featured improvements that made the technology more reliable, and many Sierra owners today have no complaints. But the damage to reputation was already done. The years between 2007 and 2016 left thousands of drivers stranded, thousands more financially drained, and a legacy of distrust that lingers in used truck lots across America. Even now, when shoppers spot a Sierra from that period priced unusually low, experienced buyers know to raise an eyebrow. A deal that looks too good to be true often hides an engine on the verge of collapse. The Sierra's story is a cautionary tale of innovation gone wrong, of engineers chasing efficiency without considering long-term durability. It reminds us that sometimes the promise of better fuel mileage is not worth the trade-off of reliability. Owners who once boasted of driving the refined sibling of the Silverado instead learned that refinement meant nothing if the heart of the truck was broken. And as bitter as that reality was, it is not the end of the story, because if GMC stumbled, Nissan outright collapsed. The tale of the Titan XD is one of the most spectacular failures in modern truck history, and that chapter is waiting to be told next. Before we reveal number one, take a second to subscribe and ring that notification bell. That way, you'll never miss the next countdown of trucks, cars, or engines that mechanics warn you about. This channel is all about protecting your money and your ride, so subscribing means you stay one step ahead. Nissan Titan XD. There are times in automotive history when a bold gamble turns into a legendary success, and there are other times when that gamble crashes so hard it leaves a crater in the brand's reputation. The Nissan Titan XD, with the Cummins 5.0-liter diesel engine produced between the year 2016 and the year 2019, falls firmly into that second category. On paper, it was supposed to be the perfect marriage. Nissan's big half-ton pickup fitted with a smaller version of the legendary Cummins diesel. Advertisements promised the best of both worlds: a truck with the refinement of a light-duty pickup and the pulling power of a heavy-duty workhorse. Buyers imagined themselves towing horse trailers, hauling heavy equipment, or cruising highways with the confidence that only a diesel engine could inspire. Yet reality unfolded in a much darker way. The Titan XD diesel became a symbol of failure, with problems so widespread and expensive that even experienced diesel mechanics shook their heads in disbelief. The Cummins 5.0-liter in the Titan XD was poorly adapted from European standards, saddled with failing emissions equipment, clogged exhaust gas recirculation valves, faulty diesel exhaust fluid systems, and soot-choked filters. often forcing trucks into dangerous limp mode. Turbocharger failures were another nightmare. Many owners reported turbos seizing or even shattering before the odometer hit 80,000 miles. When a turbo let go, it was not just a matter of replacing one part. Metal fragments scattered through intake and exhaust paths, sometimes damaging intercoolers and exhaust systems along the way. A single replacement turbo cost $4,000, and when combined with labor, the repair bill ballooned even higher. Add that to the common $8,000 price tag for a complete emission system overhaul, and suddenly owners were staring at repair estimates of $12,000 to $15,000. That figure was enough to break budgets, especially when the truck itself had depreciated heavily in value. The misery deepened with sensor failures. Nitrogen oxide sensors, crucial to the emission system, carried a replacement cost of over $2,000 each. When one failed, the truck often refused to operate correctly until it was replaced, stranding drivers and forcing them to wait on expensive parts. Cooling system leaks added another layer of frustration. Radiators, hoses, and seals developed weak spots that left coolant bleeding onto the pavement. Drivers found themselves topping off fluids just to make it to work, and more than a few reported being stranded roadside with steam pouring from under the hood. The Titan XD diesel baffled mechanics. With scarce parts and poor dealer repairs, owners spent thousands repeatedly on unresolved issues. When Nissan discontinued the oddball 5.0-liter, resale values collapsed, leaving abandoned, unsupported, and orphaned trucks everywhere. The emotional toll cannot be understated. Many buyers had been loyal Nissan owners who wanted to support a brand willing to challenge the dominance of Ford, Chevrolet, and Ram. They expected the Cummins badge to guarantee dependability. Instead, they were left with trucks that sat in repair bays more than on job sites. Families planning cross-country trips canceled vacations because their Titan XD was too unreliable. Contractors who depended on their trucks to haul tools and trailers found themselves renting vehicles just to keep working. The financial and emotional strain drove many owners to dump their trucks at a loss, simply to escape the cycle of breakdowns. By the time production ended in the year 2019, the Titan XD diesel experiment had become one of the most notorious failures in the pickup market. Resale values cratered, forums lit up with angry testimonies, and the truck's reputation was beyond saving. Even now, mechanics warn used truck shoppers to steer clear of any Titan with the 5.0-liter Cummins under the hood. While the gasoline versions of the Titan were far more reliable, the diesel variant is remembered as a financial trap, a truck that promised strength but delivered endless frustration. As we close this countdown, the Titan XD diesel stands as the ultimate warning. A badge, even one as respected as Cummins, does not guarantee reliability when poor adaptation and rushed engineering are at play. The lesson here is simple. Do not fall for promises on paper alone. Look deeper, research carefully, and always learn from the hard-earned mistakes of past owners. Because in the world of trucks, making the wrong choice can cost more than just money. It can cost your confidence on the road, your trust in a brand, and your peace of mind. Now you know the 5 trucks owners are dumping in 2025. And why avoiding them can save you thousands. If this breakdown helped, hit like and share it with a friend who's thinking about buying a pickup. Drop your experience in the comments too, because your story might warn someone else. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications on, so you never miss the next list that could protect your wallet and your ride.